listeners, welcome back to Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. As always, I am your host, Colleen Biggs. What a week it has been. Wow. I feel like every time we come back and we have a new episode, the world has shifted another 27 degrees. I don't know what is happening out there, but one thing I know for sure, and one thing I stand in my truth that we talk about on a regular basis is we always provide opportunity for women to stand in their truth and use their voices, no matter what their opinions are, no matter what their voices are and what message they have to send, it needs to be heard. And that is the one thing that I love about being able to have this amazing time in my life to lead this organization of Lead Up for Women and to have this podcast to bring beautiful women on today like Jean and Jill to be able to speak their truth, talk about their message, share their creative genius with us, and educate, inspire, and motivate us so that I guarantee somebody out there today is listening that needs to hear a message that you will be delivering, and it will change their life. That is how we speak up. So there's a lot going on in the world. And for a while, I was so confused because they would say, you can't stay silent. You have to speak up. Yet if I spoke up, I felt like no one really understood that I have an opinion and how I feel about people. And there was just I felt like a lot of confusion going on in the last several weeks about Black Lives Matter and where everybody stood. And I want it to be very clear for everybody that this platform is for every female, and our organization is global. We have members from all over in different countries. Our magazines are voices and stories of women from all over the world. We support women as a sisterhood. And that's what our stand is at Lead Up for Women, that every woman has her opportunity to share her voice and have her opinion. And like my husband and I say, sometimes you have to agree to disagree because we're not always going to agree. But I think the number one thing to remember is have respect for the other person and their opinion, because we don't know what they've been through. We're not sure about what their story is or where they're standing today. But what I know we can do is inspire them and lift them up so that they can be the best version of themselves. So that's what we're going to work on today. And I'm super excited to have these ladies with me. So today we're going to talk about being your best, mastering the strategies, because as women, I think we tend to do. And with the doing, we don't necessarily always get paid or get back what our worth is. In fact, many women that I work with tend to undervalue what their worth really is. And I have two majorly masterful women with us today that has mastered the strategy of how to ensure that you are getting your ROI on what it is that you are putting out there, so that you can make sure that women, it is okay to make a lot of money. It is okay to live a wonderful life. It is okay, because those things that you want, like health for your family and vacations to take your families on where your kids don't have to pay. I mean, come on, I have 7 kids. When we add it all up with the 7 kids and the 11 grandkids, I'm hauling like 25 people somewhere. That's a pretty penny if I want to pay to haul 25 people on a vacation, right? We're talking like a second mortgage is what it costs. So if you want to be able to give those things to your family and that's what you're looking for, then to make a lot of money, you should not be ashamed of that. And I want to talk about how we can master those strategies with the 2 females that I have on with me today. So first of all, I just want Jill Lublin and Jean Kuhn to say hi to our audience very quickly.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Great to be here.
So wonderful to have you ladies. And I'm going to start with Jean. And everyone knows me. I don't sit and read bios because I'll tell you why. If I sit and read your bio, then I ask you about yourself. You go, well, you just read everything about me. So what would you like me to say? So I'm going to just talk about what I know about Jean. So Jean is my coach. And I have always recommended to everybody that you have a coach, that you have somebody out there that's 10 steps ahead of you in business, so that they are fresh. They can teach you the skills that you need to be able to grow the vision that you have. Because remember, when we're stuck in our frame and we have a tough time seeing outside of that, this is why you have someone that's working with you to help you with that vision and break it down. That's who Jean is. She has had a plethora of businesses that she has taken out of bankruptcy, and she has sold them as profitable businesses. She takes women and men, even though this is a female organization, she does take females and men from where they are today to where they want to be, and how to look and dissect their business so they can get the money that they want out of their business. And she helps you find cash in your business. That's the beautiful part. So Jean, welcome to Lead Up for Women. Speak Up to Lead Up.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here today. Thank you.
We see each other all the time, but I don't get the opportunity to really spotlight you the way I believe you deserve, because you serve all day long, every day, consistently. You're helping business owners grow their businesses. So today is about you. Today, I want you to share with us, what is it that makes you so freaking awesome?
Well, thank you for thinking that I'm freaking awesome. And you, can I go back to one thing you said earlier, that, you said that I'm your coach, but you know what? I have a coach too, because I believe in that. You can't be a coach and not have a coach because you're out of integrity. Why would somebody pay you to coach them if you're not willing to pay somebody else to coach you and learn what you don't know? So I love the fact how you put that. And I love to make that point to women, because I think so many women forget that, who are coaches. So let's talk about that. So anyway, why am I awesome? You know what? I knew when I was 26 years old in a room with Zig Ziglar. He didn't say this. I don't know why I knew it, but at 26, I knew that I was supposed to serve small business owners and help them make more money. At 26, I had never owned a business in my life, and I didn't know how to do that. And I spent the next 25 years owning businesses, figuring it out, losing a boatload of cash, making a boatload of cash, and till I finally figured out I bought a bankrupt business, and nothing will give you a immediate, baptized by fire result than buying a bankrupt business. And like, okay, now what do I do? Right? That might've been a big mistake, but it turned out that it wasn't, because I was willing to put forth the effort to turn that thing around fast.
I want to go back to what you were talking about. And I want everyone to recognize that Jean just showed up sharing her dirty laundry and opening the closet, as well as the good stuff, right? These are the important pieces. So if you see Jean today, you're like, oh, she's successful. She coaches people. She helps them grow their businesses. She's owned businesses in the past. She's always been successful. No, she just said, when you lose a boatload of cash, that's when you learn. So let's talk about that, because some of the reasons why females are afraid to take the step forward, or the risk, it's the risk, right, is because of failure, that stupid F word. I say F the failure word, F the F word, right? Why is it, do you think, that people are so afraid, that you have found in all of the business owners that you've worked with, to really stretch themselves and put themselves out there?
I think one of the reasons is they feel like they need to ask permission from their partner or their spouse that I really want to do this. What do you think? Right? And it might include an investment, and the partner's like, no. And so they don't do what they were meant to do because somebody told them no. And I will tell you, when I first invested in my first coach, I did not have the money. I didn't know how I was going to pay her. I literally did not know how I was going to pay her, but I knew what I would work hard enough to make the money to pay her. Mm-hmm. And I've always done that. So when I didn't even tell my husband, I signed a $15,000 contract right? I waited 3 business days till that contract could not be canceled before I told him, because I didn't want to have that conversation, because it didn't matter if he'd said no. I was doing it. I needed it. So, and I've done this though for our entire life, right? I'm not really one to say, "Hey, honey, can we get a puppy?" Right? Right? Can
You
we
just come home with a puppy.
come home with a puppy?
Yeah.
Right? So, but yeah, I think women, I think they don't take enough credit for who they are,
Mhm.
and stand up as leaders in their community or even in their relationships, right? So if you're gonna lead, you better take charge, and you better come home with what you want.
And honestly, women, I'm going to share a secret with you. It's what the men want anyway, because when
Yes.
they met you, you were like that sexy chick that was super confident that they met, and that's who they married. They didn't marry you so that you could turn into a not make decisions, a mom, and I'm not saying being a mom is bad. I mean, I've got a lot of children. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's who they married.
Right.
So to be that person consistently and stay you and not tuck you away while you take on their last name and now your identity is their identity. And then you take on the identity of a mom, and then you might take on some other identities moving forward as grandmother. Here's the point of that. You need to keep who you are authentically in the forefront, because when you tuck her away, believe me, I've done this. I've shared these emotional stories. When I picked her back out and dusted her off, I didn't even know what she liked. And so to avoid that and losing all that time in your life, stay confidently in your truth and who you are, and who gives a living crap about what anybody else thinks anyway. Because
Right.
who you are authentically is who you are meant to be. And if God created you that way, that's how you bring your gifts forward, not by hiding behind some other shield or some other mask of who you think people want you to be.
Yeah, and I think that we waste that time in our 20s, 30s, and 40s of being that hidden person, and then by the time we hit our mid 50s, she is like ready to burst out, right? And I believe that that's also the reason a lot of marriages end, because you've spent those first 20 years becoming somebody's, you become invisible to even your family, right? And then when you decide that you need to blossom, that other person's like, wait a minute, that's not how we work here, right? And they can't take it. So, and then you either get patted back down into the dirt, or you just explode.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Or your husband's super excited because they're like, I've been waiting for her for 20 years.
yeah,
She's back. So then some of those marriages have that major spark
yeah.
happen, and then they go travel and live the rest of their life super happy. But yeah, there's that time in between there. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because the message that I hear you sharing is you've got to take the first step and believe in yourself, and then surround yourself with those people, including coaches and support and mastermind groups, and the people that support you and help you and educate you and move you forward. So I always say you are a combination of the 5 people you hang around with the most.
And you make
And
more money of the
you
average
make the same
people,
amount
right? Yeah. So why would you hang around with somebody who doesn't have a job?
is broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, or complains about never having money, or complains that they never can leave corporate. Like that happened to me when I left. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like so jealous that you get it's like, no, I created this. Like, you're jealous, I'm freaking scared. So, because I'm taking a leap with no net. I am my own net. We are our own nets. And I've said this before. You think you need to make a certain amount of money, and when you really do your bills and you really look at things, you can make the choices you want in your life. So those are just excuses. Those are just excuses that you're putting out there because you're scared and you're just making excuses. So if you know that the failure becomes a pivot and a learning opportunity, then you become educated on something that didn't work out, and you don't look at it as a failure. You look at it as an opportunity and a stepping stone for you to step up and go further
Yeah.
and make more happen.
Imagine my husband's face when I lost $350,000 on a deal, right? Yeah. He was not my biggest fan then, but he
Mm.
knew that I would work really hard to make it right. And I
Yeah.
did. I mean, I worked really hard to make it right. I never made it right. I'm just going to say sometimes a bad deal is a bad deal, but you can either quit, right? You can end it there and it's just a bad deal forever, or you can go on and recreate what you wanted and then make it right.
Give us some, Jean, give us some idea of some examples of how, what you've learned along the way, because you've worked in a lot of programs. You've had a lot of really big name mentors throughout this career of yours that you've created. Give us a snapshot of some of the most important business lessons that you've learned that just stick with you all the time, that you just have consistently with you.
So I have about 3 or 4. So number 1 is wealth rewards speed, right? So if you want to make a lot of money, make fast decisions. Now, what happens if you make the wrong decision? You fix it. This used to drive my employees crazy because I would come in on a Monday and I would change something. And then on Friday, I could see it wasn't working and I would change it again, right? So you make fast decisions and then you, as Larry Winget says, you make the decisions right? I call it take action, revise later, right? Make a fast decision, take action, and then fix it. It's not that hard. But some people won't take that step until they know all of the pieces and they're sure that it will be a success to start with. And by that time, they're out of date and not relevant anymore. The other one is take responsibility for your mistakes, right? Take responsibility, own up to your mistakes. It was super hard to lose $350,000 when my husband was totally my biggest fan. He's still my biggest fan, but he knows how hard I work and that I would make it back, and I have. What was the other one? Do it scared. You just talked about that, right? In my tribe, we call it do it scared, right? Because it's never going to feel like, oh, this is the perfect time to start a business, right? It never feels like that. You never get that feeling. It's like, I have this amazing idea. What would happen if I did this? And then you'll talk yourself out of it, right? So do it scared. And then there was one more I was thinking of, and it's eluded me at this particular moment. I can't remember. There's another one. I can't remember what it is.
That's okay. We'll get it back.
Okay.
I love, those are really wonderful pieces of advice that if you took one, if anyone listening took one of those pieces of advice today about wealth reward speed, if you make a decision and it takes you a month, make the decision in 2 weeks. Right. I always like to help women understand that you don't have to jump in with both feet and just be baptized to this whole transformation of yourself immediately and try and make all these changes. It's like, if you want to lose weight and get healthy and you want to change the way you eat, you don't do all of that overnight and then just go to the gym one time and eat one day healthy. And then all of a sudden, you're cured and things in your life change. And the reason why most people don't last on diets or don't last on fads that come and go is because they dive into it head first and they do something that their mindset can't wrap themselves around, right? It's excruciating. It's trying to deprive themselves of things. But when you do it in small baby steps, and you're able to start working your way down the path for what you need to change in your life. And you take one thing, and then when you've perfected that, you add on the second thing. And then when you've perfected that, you add on the third thing, right? You should always be taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
It's amazing how many people don't, though, right? It's always somebody else's fault, right?
And the reason why most people don't take responsibility is also because of their insecurity. And if you're not secure enough in what you believe in and that you screwed up, it's generally because you're afraid of what somebody else will have to say or the judgment that will come from that. Again, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's the whole rubber glue thing. I talk about it all the time, right? It doesn't stick. Do not allow the labels to stick.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing I think is, Jean, I've talked with you several times. You define success for you with the amount of money that you make. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. Does that make me a bad person?
No, it makes you Jean Kuhn. And by the way, I don't judge, and I know Jill's not judging you. If she is, she can, but don't let it stick.
Yeah, but you know why? I had to decide. I have a pretty nice life, and I had to decide in my mid-50s, was I willing to work as hard as it was to get the success that I never had it when I was younger,
Yeah.
right? And I decided that I was willing to work, put in 10 and 12 hours a day on a business. Now my kids are grown, right? This all happened when my youngest son turned 21. So was it a really big commitment for me? Not really after he turned 21. I didn't have to, right? I mean, he was on his own. So, but did I use it as an excuse when my kids were younger? Probably, because and teens, as they were teens, I could have worked a little harder. So anyway, I decided that I was willing to put forth the effort after he was gone. And I flat out told my husband, I don't intend to cook as much anymore. We'll eat out. I don't intend to do a lot of other things around the house that I was doing, because I have a business that I want to build, and I have a success level in my head that I want to hit, and I don't want to die before I hit that. So
Yeah.
now, yeah.
And I think that even when you're talking about the money portion of it, there's so much more that goes with that, right? You
Yeah.
want the freedom of being able to pay for someone to clean your house, to be able to go out to dinner and not cook, to be able to go on vacations when you want, to be able to schedule your time the way you want to schedule your time, and have the quitting at whatever time of the day, or take a day off, or whatever it may be. You have the freedom to do that. And that's also part of the success that comes with the
Having
money.
the money, right?
Mhm.
Exactly. There are things I still want. I believe Zig Ziglar told me 30 some years ago, right? You can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. And I literally have lived that my entire life for the last 30 years of serving other people and helping them get what they want. And I automatically have. That's why I had such a great life. And I had to decide, was I willing to get hungry enough again? Because there was, back in the early days, we were pretty hungry, right? I was really hungry, but I had 3 small kids, and I decided I was hungry enough to go out and create more. You know why? Number 1, because I wanted it. Number 2, because I want other things. And number 3, I want to travel, and I want to help. I want to take my kids with me when I go on vacation, even though they're all adults. I want, like you were talking about at the beginning, I want to take all of them with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes they can't afford to go, and then they get left out when it's an ultimatum of, gosh, do we go on vacation with mom and dad and everyone, or can we afford it this year or not? And
Right.
so that's a gift that you're giving them. So that's beautiful, Jean. I think everyone that's listening today and watching you on our Facebook page has a very clear picture of how you serve your clients, and how you are there in the trenches with them to help them get to the next level, because that's just who you are authentically. And I love that about you.
Thank you. And I almost make my clients a guarantee that they will not fail, because number 1, I don't want people to ever say anything bad about me. So I'm going to work extra hard to make sure they have the success they want, because you'll have to search very hard for somebody who thinks I'm an ass, right? Right.
That's true.
That I didn't provide what I said I would provide.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll have to search very, very, very hard for that.
That's
I'm sure
wonderful.
there's one out there somewhere, right?
There may be, but they might also be that person that didn't put in the effort.
Oh yeah.
And they're the ones that blame everyone anyway. They're
They don't take responsibility. Yeah.
They're not taking responsibility, right? Because you can't make them additional money if they're not willing to do the work. You can just, it's about leading the horse to water, right? We've talked about that several times.
Yeah.
And so Jean, talk to our listeners a little bit about an offer that you may have for them today, about how somebody can reach out to you if they would like to get in contact with you, because they too want to bring their business to the next level and are looking for someone to guide them to get there.
Thank you. I would love to do that. You know, I didn't plan on this, but I would like to offer, I'm streaming it on a group I call the Strategy Sphere right now. I'm streaming this live podcast. But here's the thing. This was a group that I started when COVID started and the whole country got locked down, to help small business owners stay in business. So it's been going on now for 15, 16 weeks, and it's completely free. I would love to offer that to any of your people that would like to join this. There's no requirement. The only requirement I have is show up and participate, or don't take advantage of it, right? Otherwise, I do it because I love small business owners. So if that's okay to do that, I will post that in the chat.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And they can reach out to me, join the group, and then you can reach out to me through that, or is it okay if I put my email in here?
Yeah, you can drop it afterwards. It would be easier if you went to the video and then just put it in the comments section. And then that way, when we all share it, it'll be right there on the video. So when anyone is looking at our videos at a later time or date, they always have your contact information right there. And then I'll also add it into our podcast description. So if someone's listening on the podcast, they can just click right there and the link will be there and they can reach out to you that way. Does that sound good?
Thanks.
Well, thank you, Jean, so much. So if I asked your husband, one last question I'm going to ask you. If I asked your husband, what is his favorite thing about you, what would he say?
I would think his favorite thing is the fact that I can make fast decisions. I really think that that's it, even, right? Actually, it's even come back to bite me in the butt, right? Because I feel like sometimes he can't make a decision anymore and I have to make them all. And sometimes I just don't want to make a decision. I don't care where we go for dinner.
I feel like we're married to the same person. What the heck? I think it's because we're very strong, independent women and we attract the same type of men is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's probably what's happening. I have a feeling Jill's going to be the same. As soon as I start talking to Jill, here we go. All right. Well, Jean, thank you so much for being with us. Stay with us because you might, get into conversation here as we're talking to Jill. So it's just been lovely having you on my show. It's such a treat. It's an honor. Such a treat.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, Jill. Hi, beautiful. How are you today?
I am doing great. I am like nodding in agreement with Jean. I'm loving the conversation. Thank you.
I'm excited that I have you on my show. The level of women in Lead Up for Women, it's just blows my mind. It helps me grow every day of the women I get to surround myself with and the other women get to surround themselves with. You have this plethora of experience that goes forever on your biography, but I'm just going to say that she's the author of 4 best-selling books. And that is something we want to talk about today, as well as the CEO of a strategic consulting firm and has over 25 years experience working with over 100,000 people in international media. So you're helping authors create book deals with major publishers and agents. Is that right?
Yes, and I help all kinds of small business owners get publicity. I do those 2 things. Just really, I love helping people get their message out. It's really my life's passion.
Mine too. And isn't that awesome that there are so many different ways and different verticals in which we can do that, and how your creative genius is really in books and the messages and how authors are able to share their voices through writing. That is
absolutely. But so the thing is also, because I work with all kinds of small business owners, coaches, consultants, getting their message out, real estate people. The truth is every small business owner needs a message, right? No matter what business you're in. And then I have the pleasure and blessing of helping some of the right people who want a book, and that's appropriate, actually get a real book deal. So that's pretty exciting, meaning with major publishers and agents.
Okay, Jill, well, take us back a little bit because I've met you a few times before and we've had these conversations, but I haven't really gotten into the juice of Jill. And so I'm going to dig in a little bit into your secret sauce today. And I want you to take us back a little bit further. And of course, I want to know why you're so freaking awesome, but I want you to take us back so we can get to know how your journey started, because you didn't just wake up or come out of the womb and say, I'm going to be an author. I'm going to be an author and I'm going to help other people share their messages, just like I didn't, right? There was a little bit of a rocky road. Tell us, maybe a pivotal point in your life, or let's go back a little bit so we can understand who you are as a person. Paint our picture for us.
Well, absolutely. And I know people are always shocked to hear this, but I actually was incredibly shy, very what's the word? Not only introspective, but really sort of painfully shy. And part of that, and I think that's part of what drives me now to help others, because I had to learn how to get over it, deal with it, come forth, right? And I, like Jean, have hired coaches. I invest in people to transform myself. I've had a strong spiritual journey of transformation. I've had some good therapy. All of it has helped, right? And I would tell you that coming through that, I actually ended up in the music business because I dropped out of law school. Now, see, you got to get this. I always wanted to go to law school because I figured that would be a great way that I could help and serve, right? And then I got to law school and I discovered that it is not the kind of place for my highly creative brain. And it just didn't work for me. I actually hated it and I got sick 5 times, like seriously sick, the first year of law school. And I thought, okay, I'm out of here. And I literally dropped out. My father was so upset with me because frankly, I was the first one in my family to not only get to graduate school, but to actually graduate college. So nobody in my family's graduated college. I come from a fairly blue collar family. And here I am, an author who has a book. The truth is my parents, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, had no clue what I actually did. Meaning as a speaker, as an author, as a consultant, as a coach, they just didn't know what I did. Like, Jill, do you have a job? And the reality about that is then when I dropped out of law school, I ended up in the music business, and I sort of worked my way into director of promotion and publicity at independent record labels. So I've always worked for the underdog, and I think that's part of the story because the reality of entrepreneurs who need a message is that in a certain way they're well, not quite the underdog, but major corporations have big budgets for advertising, for publicity, and I think it's time for the entrepreneur, the women, the small business owners to raise their voices. Anyway, back to that. When I got into the music business, what I really discovered is the power of perception. Right? Because here we were, just say I was working for these underdog music labels, meaning we didn't have the big budgets that the big labels had. We were small independent record labels with small budgets, and I mean small, right? And so I learned how to make that work. I remember one of the labels I worked with, we were about to play a concert at Carnegie Hall. It was an all women's music label. And we actually, through my efforts, I got them into the New York Times and the Boston Globe and lots of great publicity that actually filled Carnegie Hall before we even got there. And I remember the producer said to us, "How did you do this? Like we can't even fill Carnegie Hall." Well, it was the power of publicity. So I was always learning about that, but really what I got in I actually worked in 4 independent record labels. I did music management for artists. And what I learned was that it's all about perception.
Yeah, it really is. It's whatever lens either you're looking through or somebody else is looking through. It really is. So if it's about perspective, then tell me, how do you work with your clients and those that you assist in shifting that perspective?
Yes. Well, first of all, it's creating a perspective that you want. Like, what is it that you want people to see? I'm going to tell you right now, with everything that's been going on in our wild, wonderful world, all my Black clients, I'm like, to heck with any other message we've come up with. I want you out on Black Lives Matter because you can. Right? Because you can. I have a woman, she's a psychologist, and we're talking about having conversations, the rough conversations, the I don't want to ask you this question conversation because I'm embarrassed because maybe I don't know the answer kind of conversation. And she can talk about that because she's a psychologist and she's Black and she can do this conversation in the right way. That's powerful. So even though we were having other public relations messages about how to deal with stress in COVID time, by the way, another great conversation for this moment, we shifted because the environment shifted in a matter of moments. And I think that's really important to listen to what's going out, well, what's going on out in the world, and also what's on your heart to say, what's in your message that matters. And then sometimes, like my accountant, we're talking about how do you recover? How do you create financial viability in tough times? Whatever the message is, make it so that it's relevant. But, one of the things I've always been big on is I think of publicity like a gardening process, and you have to plant seeds so that your garden grows well, not only now, but 3, 6, and 9 months from now and ongoingly. So I think it's a little bit of you have to see what works. You have to see what matters to what your business goals are and what's playing on your heart, right? Right now I'm doing, for instance, kindness circles based on my book, Profit of Kindness, because that is needed in this moment, right? And this afternoon I'll be on Houston radio stations and just did several more this week on major stations talking about branding and what's going on with Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's, because that's what matters in this moment. So I think one thing that's really important is to be flexible with your message. And I like to call it use everything you've got, meaning, take what works in who you are. Like, Colleen, you have such a powerful message for women. Great. You'd probably be going out for International Women's Day, or, if there was obviously in the Me Too movement, right? And all kinds of things that we look at. What is it that you have to say that matters for right now, but also, matters maybe for the future? But sometimes you just got to pivot quickly. And I think that's really important with media and important even with your message. And I like to tell people, don't get too attached to any of it, because what really matters is how you can make a difference. And that's the power of media. And that's why I love media, because of your ability to use your voice and make a difference.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So you're saying we probably shouldn't plant an apple seed and expect an apple tree overnight with a bunch of fruit the next morning.
I
Which is
wish
what people tend to think, right? Oh, wait, I wrote this book, so why isn't it a bestseller tomorrow? And why am I not getting the publicity I need? And why, it takes time, like you said, nurturing and sharing and getting your message out there, and just consistency, repetitiveness, and relevancy.
Yes, I like to say be consistent and persistent in the marketplace. But I'll tell you, with the Profit of Kindness, I had a 9-month plan, which is why I ended up in Inc. magazine twice and Forbes magazine twice, right? With Guerrilla Publicity, it's our 3rd edition, because we've sold over 85,000 copies, because we keep being relevant in a moment that matters, so the point is that you have to be ready to shift. And I'll tell you, my message for the Profit of Kindness was not, Jill's got a new book out, hallelujah, even though of course I'm happy, right? My mama's happy in heaven. But realistically, that's not the important message. It's not about my book. It's not about your business. It's about kindness in the marketplace right now. It's about how do we be more kind to each other and have more tolerance and respect and compassion for each other. That's the message. Or the divided states of America might be the message, right? It's not a new book, a new product, a new service, or what I like to call beat your chest publicity. Now, I want y'all to beat your chest. I want you to be proud, to make lots of money, like Jean says, to have a great business and a powerful, presence. And the point is that we got to direct people to the message that matters, and that's a real key.
So, because that is key, give us some tips on how you are directing your clients to be relevant today. You gave us one with some of your clients, and you're asking them to be part of the Black Lives Matter movement because it's relevant for them and it was a good pivot for them. Give us another example of some other clients that you're working with and how in what's happening with today.
Absolutely. I have a business consultant, and we were on our session, and she goes, Jill, I have to tell you, I'm really upset because I have no idea how to teach my kid math. She goes, I'm a business consultant. What do I know about math? And I'm like, hey, I'm with you. And we turned that message into, how do you run your business take care of your children. And that actually went right into another client I work with who's a parenting coach. Same thing. Like, how do you avoid what I call, pulling your hair out while you're raising your kids? And she had some great solutions. My relationship expert, she's a self-published author. Her real thing is actually helping people write letters that are tough for things to say. That's what she really does. And she's a psychologist. But guess what? Now we had her as the quarantine Cupid, right? And by the way, when WGN in Chicago, a major radio station, looked at the quarantine Cupid, then they also looked at the fact that she's a psychologist. They said, you know what, we really need you to help us analyze and talk data about relationships and what's going on with relationships. And so she was able to, she goes, oh, sure, yes, because that's one thing I always want to underline for folks is you have to just say yes. I don't care what they ask you. Like I'm telling you, I'm on, 4 major radio stations in the past 3 days talking about branding. Can I just tell you, Colleen, I'm not a branding expert. I'm a publicity expert. But what I know is the power of both and the power of a message through branding. So I can talk about it. And, I just want to assure people that most major media interviews, I know when I was on Fox News Network for The Profit of Kindness, 7 of them to be exact in the first week, these were 4-minute and 20-second interviews. All right. Now, okay, excuse my little bit of a glib comment here, but anyone can sound smart for 4 minutes, right? You just need to know a little bit about what your message is. You need to have some main talking points. That's what's key. And my clients are always prepared with those, because one of the things I'm really big on is have a strong message with simple points, right? 5-year-old language points and simple. That's key.
Yes, thank you, Jill. And I love that you made the point about the authenticity of the message, right? Because isn't that really what helps each one of us stand out is who we are and what our message is. And it has a lot to do with how we got to where we are, right? Our experience through that. So I couldn't speak on what it would be like in a pandemic to sit and do homework with my children while I'm running a business if I don't have any children at home. I can only speak on what it's like to raise children and work a full-time career while traveling. But, that wasn't relative to the time, of what was happening. So I love your point that you made on, being guided by what your heart says. So the authenticity of who you are and what your message is, but also being very aware of what's happening around you and maybe shifting that message, not showing up as somebody else or what someone else is looking for. You still show up as you. You're just shifting your message a little bit to be more relevant in the moment of the time.
That's right. And be relevant and be interesting and be concise and precise. But really, I do think it's really key to be authentic, because what I've noticed, and I work with introverts, I work with people who are scared to put their message out, or I don't know how to do this, all that kind of stuff, right? Or I'm not ready for it, which I think is crazy, because if you're in business, you better be ready for putting your message out, because you're going to get your message out no matter what, right? Every time you show up on a Zoom meeting to network, you're doing publicity. Every time you're in any kind of facilitated anything where you're in an environment where people see you on Facebook, in your social media, there's no hiding out these days. Let me just say that. So I think it's key to have a message that's consistent, but to also be who you are in your energy, in your wackiness, in your seriousness, in your whatever you are. Be congruent, so I think that's a real key. And meanwhile, also, even in that congruency, which sounds sort of funny, but I'm going to say it, you also need to be willing to be out of your box, right? Meaning you're going to stretch a little bit and talk about something else. If I may, let me just give you a great example of this. A woman I worked with, she is a corporate trainer. She teaches people how to cook and does great team building with that. However, after taking my virtual publicity course, she said, Jill, what I've learned is just say yes, just say yes. So when NBC Nightly News was doing a February Valentine's Day segment about aphrodisiac cooking, she goes, well, I said yes, even though my brain wanted to say no, but but Jill said, just say yes. So she said yes. And you know what? She ended up with a 4.5-minute segment on NBC Nightly News, which would have cost her, if she had paid for this, over $720,000. Okay.
Wow.
That's how powerful that was. And I'm going to tell you, we laughed later because she said, Jill, I didn't know what aphrodisiac cooking was, and I didn't know how to spell it. She said, but, and I didn't know any recipes, but you know, Google is a beautiful thing, my friends. So whatever you don't know, you can find out. And what the point is just to get in front of people so that you're recognizable, so that people have heard of you somewhere. So there's familiarity and trust. And that's the power of media. That's the power of your presence. That's the power that will drive your business to profit.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jill. I love how when I bring two females together to interview, and sometimes we don't even have a common thread of maybe what they do in their businesses, we always find a common thread. And talking about doing it scared, that wealth rewards speed, and Jill is saying you just have to say yes. Those are the things. When you think about it, contemplate it too much, I'm not really sure, that's when it's already passed you by. It's gone. So don't stop thinking about it. You know, and that goes back to, for females especially, listening to your intuition. We're giving it for a reason. There's a reason why we have this mad intuition. Men do too. If we would just listen to it more often, right, and make those decisions quickly, then we would have greater opportunity. No matter what happened in the end, it's still greater opportunity. Yeah, I completely agree. Jill, thank you so much for your words of wisdom today, and for rocking the house with your advice for all of our listeners. And so if someone wanted to get in touch with you, I know you have a free offer. Talk us through that, how someone could reach you for anybody listening. And then of course, I'll add it to the description. So if you're listening, you'll see the links within your podcast, as well as on Facebook. We'll put it in the comments.
Absolutely. Thank you. So if you have anything you'd like to talk to me about, great book ideas, or your own publicity and how to do it, support@JillLublin.com would be a great email, support@JillLublin.com. And also I invite you to be in a live interactive publicity time with me. It's a great time to get your questions answered and get great content. And for that, go to JillLublin.com/publicity. For the kindness circles, I'm also inviting you in. They're completely free. And it's JillLublin.com/kindness circles. So it'd be great to have you in any of those. And let's get you rocking on more kindness and more publicity and putting your message out to the world.
I love kindness circles. So I'm inviting everybody to join that and jump in with Jill on what she has available. That's wonderful. So thank you, Jill, for offering that. And thank you both, Jean and Jill, for being with me today. It was amazing what you offered the listeners today, just all about the authenticity and how important your message is, and how important it is to step forward and do what it is that you are meant to do. Like we say at Lead Up for Women, show up as you, show up and be seen, right? Being seen, Jill, in your world looks a little bit different than being seen in mine. It's all about just being seen, in however you do that. And big or small, it all matters, because when you show up and you are seen, you automatically give permission to those around you to do the same. And it's one of the best gifts you can give people. And I love that you mentioned Zig Ziglar and about serving, and how, you know, if you want to be in business and be successful, you really need to serve others, because I really do believe that. So thank you, Jean, for sharing that as well. All right, ladies, we are going to wrap up for today. I am honored that both of you joined me. This was just blew me away at the advice that you gave. So thank you. I always learn so much from those that I interview. So today was wonderful. And I want to remind everybody, if you are looking for opportunities to learn from our members, the podcast isn't the only way you can do that. We have Teaching Tuesday webinars on the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month. And our members teach those webinars. So they give back to the community, and it's free for anyone outside of our community or within our community. All you have to do is go to leadupforwomen.com, click on events and register for the free webinar. You will not want to miss any of the next ones coming up. We're going to be talking about how you can let it go, let the things go that you don't want to be doing and delegate. That's the best way to buy time. We call it buying time. So we have that. And then we also have Jen Duplessis. For those of you that know her, she is amazing at cracking the top producer code. So she's going to talk to you about ways that you can crack that code. So I'm super excited for her to be joining us on July 28th. And I want to also talk about our guests for next week. So 2 of our members that are joining us next week are Ann Andrews. Jean, you know Ann. She's the founder of Ann Catherine Design. She has a big message that she would like to share with all of us, as well as Sandra Hill. I love her. She was with me at Voice America when we had our radio show. She's a life transition coach. She just wrote our 10 tips in our last magazine. She's a speaker, author, like I said, radio host. She's just a phenomenal lady. And I'm so excited to have her on our show to share her genius and give us tips on how we can transition our lives to be the best version of ourselves and show up. So I'm excited for that. And as we close out today, I want to remind all of you to remember that you are the only you that has ever been, and you are the only you that will ever be. So how you pioneer your future is up to you. So I want to challenge you to show up, be you, and be the strongest you possible. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.